So this bill is really important. I want to thank Representative Duran for leading the way for funding victim services, along with Senator Winter and Senator Rankin. Help is on the way. This bill allocates $15 million one-time funding. It's American Rescue Plan Act funds to programs that can really provide life-changing help to victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. Funds from the Colorado Economic Recovery and Relief Cash Fund, which was set up in a bill that we signed the other day, goes towards victims and witness assistance and telehealth forensic nurse examiners, victims compensation, victim confidentiality programs, supporting programs to Department of Public Safety, Department of Human Services, Department of Personnel and Administration. First of all, we're all grateful to our federal delegation who made this possible. So we thank Congressman Perlmutter and Congressman Crow and Congressman Neguse and Congresswoman DeGette and Senator Hickenlooper and Senator Bennett. Those are the members of the delegation that voted for the American Rescue Act. If there were others that did, I would be thanking them as well, regardless of party. And that's really what gives us the opportunity today to be able to direct this $15 million from the state to victim services. So with that, we'll turn it over to Representative Duran.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you so much for signing this bill today. And yes, it does take a village, and I'm so grateful to our federal delegation, to our Senate and House sponsors in helping to advocate and get this bill done. $15 million seems like a lot of money, right? And it is. But when you think about the need, the overall need in the entire state, how this is going to help not only our domestic violence programs, but law enforcement, everyone all the way around, it's extremely important. And these are one-time dollars that were needed now, not next year, not 6 months from now. So I'm so grateful and appreciative that we have these dollars here and that they're going to help our survivors, as I like to say, because I consider myself a survivor, are going to help us now immediately. I'm so grateful. So thank you to everyone who made this possible. And once again, Governor, I know how important domestic violence issues are to you, and so grateful that you'll be signing this today. So thank you.
Let's make it happen. Here we go. $15 million. It's official. There you go. Congratulations. Congratulations to all of you. All right, next one is HB 1228, Domestic Violence Training Court Personnel, Representative Froelich, Senator Smallwood, and Senator Winter. And I think we're represented by Representative Froelich here. Joined by advocates for the training court personnel bill will join us up here. Is Marilee wanting to speak on this?
Yes.
Marilee, you'll be speaking on this?
Yes, I am.
Great. Okay. You know, wraparound support and services for victims of domestic violence are really important for justice, and that process begins right in our courts. I'm proud to sign the Julie McLean Act today that increases domestic violence, child abuse, and child sexual abuse training for court staff statewide, so that staff can effectively provide services for those who've experienced domestic violence and address some of their effects. These trainings will help make sure that those who have been victimized aren't further victimized and reduce the harm that they feel as they interact with the justice system. I especially want to thank Julie's mom, Marilee McLean, for joining us today. She'll be speaking in a moment and creating a groundswell of support for the bill. We're also grateful to Senator Smallwood and Representative Froelich and Senator Winter for their really important work for championing fairness, dignity, and respect for domestic violence survivors. We'll now turn it over to Representative Froelich.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for signing this bill. Mostly, I want to say thank you to the people that came forward. They came forward a couple years ago with sad, frustrating stories, and we worked through it, and I'm going to get emotional, but I'm just very happy to be here today. And so grateful to the parents who shared their journey with us and helped us wade through this complicated court system and see where we could make a difference. And for Violence Free Colorado, who lent their expertise on this issue, we're so grateful. And to Moms Fight Back for lending that energy. So grateful that Senator Smallwood and Senator Winter took the lead in the Senate and named the bill Julie's Law, which we're going to hear why. And thank you, Governor, for signing this today.
You can introduce Mary Lee if you like.
And may I introduce Julie's mom, Mary Lee McLean.
Thank you. I might cry too. HB 21-1228, Julie's Law. Yes, yes, and yes. Signed by the governor today. First of all, I want to talk about and give credence to Representative Meg Froelich and the incredible job she did. And I'll never forget our first meeting where we had met with other representatives, and when we hit with Meg Froelich, Representative Froelich, we had like Moms Fight Back Coalition team, and we took up the whole conference room. And each mother stated what was happening to them and went into a speech of what had happened. And it was incredible. And I looked at Meg's face, I'm reading her, and she's getting red. And she's going, And when they were done, it was amazing because she asked all the right questions. We hit her with so much information, with research, with legal. We constantly went back and forth. We want this, we want this, we want this. But it was amazing. And if it wasn't for her, this bill wouldn't have been passed. I really believe that. She was the Wonder Woman. So, and I also want to thank Senator Faith Winters and Senator Jim Smallwood for the great job that they did and their determination. I want to thank Moms Fight Back Coalition, my dream team, and Heidi Ganal standing behind us. I want to thank, it was just amazing because these women are in this right now. They're suffering going through what happens in the courts and how they're losing their children. And they still came forward and helped with this bill to help other families. And they did a great job of giving lots of input and lots of information, as I said, the research and the legal. One thing I want to say is there was great testimony for the Senate and for the House, and it was amazing. And I want to say, really, the testimony of the mothers was the heart of this bill. I believe they moved this bill forward. I don't believe any legislator had a dry eye when they got done testifying. So thank you to them. Most of these women are domestic violence survivors, and their children have been abused, and they find themselves in court, and they're losing their children to the abuser. These women are powerful and courageous women, and they, they had a voice this time. This is the first time these women have had a voice, which is really incredible. I don't know if Meg mentioned the co-sponsors, but we've got the Women's Collaborative, League of Women Voters, Wings Foundation, Blue Bench, Kemp Center, Jefferson Center, and actually the Porch Light. And I want to state, when Senator Winters came to the podium on the Senate bill, and she pushed to say this would be Julie's Law. I can't tell you the motion that was going on in my head, and still does. And she said, I read what the mother had reported, and she said, and I cried. And I said, I cried right that moment, because my heart and soul was in this for all these years. My daughter has had to endure abuse throughout her whole childhood due to the court system failing and the lack of training by court personnel. Her trauma is for a lifetime. For the thousands of children suffering today, this will be different. We will have accountability and transparency in those courtrooms. The court personnel will have to answer and have the right training. This is long, long overdue. I am so proud of Colorado for passing this bill, and we'll be the first in the United States to do this, and I deal with these calls and this stuff every single day of my life, and we'll be the first to push this, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you. All right, my people here. Come on, get in here.
And there you are, a signing pin for you, and then Representative Froelich. Okay, and then we need to
Can we have two?
Well, usually the sponsors might give it to you, so. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for your advocacy on this really important bill. This is a big deal.
Sophie's choice.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you all so much.
On what?
I don't know, she's asking me to pick someone.
What do you want her to do?
Awesome. Oh, I think this is what you already spoke.
I don't know if she just asked to get something.
We are now doing House Bill 1255. This is protection order against domestic abuser. Representative Duran, Representative Gray, Senator Hawkes Lewis, and Senator Pedersen. Thank you to the sponsors, Senator Pedersen, Senator Hawkes Lewis, Representative Gray, and Representative Duran, for bringing the bill forward that will help make sure that victims of domestic violence can be safer by making the procedures more workable relating to a domestic abuser's ability to retain dangerous weapons when a protection order is in place. And so, we all know that it's in very difficult moments when preventing great harm is the most important, and making sure that a firearm doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Thank you to the sponsors for passing this bill to keep our families safe. I hope that this bill will prevent future crime and victimization, and I'll turn it over to Representative Duran.
Oh, thank you, Governor. I had to write down my thoughts so I could stay focused. So, Governor, I want to thank you so much for signing one of the most progressive domestic violence bills in the country that not only closes the boyfriend loophole, but gives law enforcement a clear process for firearm relinquishment. Domestic violence is much more common than people can imagine. Mass shootings and domestic gun violence are not separate issues. They are tragically and violently linked, and abusers with firearms are 5 times more likely to kill their victims. A recent analysis of 749 mass shootings committed over the past 6 years, 60% of them were either domestic violence attacks or committed by men with history of domestic violence. But these numbers really don't do justice to explaining the physical, the mental, and emotional impact of domestic violence. This is a pain that I know very personally. And the reason that I have such a connection with survivors that rely on domestic violence protection orders to help themselves. I know what it's like to live every day in fear, shame, and isolation. Today that ends. We are no longer alone. Having this bill signed into law today means a person suffering abuse can now count on an effective mechanism for their abuser to relinquish their firearms. This bill empowers victims by giving them another tool. Today we honor those we have lost, and we give courage to those that choose to break the silence, remove the stigma and the pain of abuse. I want to thank a few people here, and if I leave anybody out, please forgive me. I want to thank our speaker, Alec Garnett, because he supported and believed in me, even in moments when I wasn't so sure we were going to be able to get this done. I want to thank my co-prime sponsors, Representative Gray, Senator Pedersen, Senator Hawkes Lewis. I want to thank Lydia Warlingowski, Katie Wolf, Emma Hudson. Yes, please clap. Kenneth Boyd, Maggie Conboy, Amelia Lobo, DAs Ann Kelly, Michael Doherty, Beth McCann, and so many others for believing and supporting me in this vision. And at last but not least, my son Patrick, for giving me the courage and the strength to love myself as much as he loved me. Thank you.
Senator Pedersen.
All right, hi everybody. I am so happy that I'm able to be here to celebrate this bill signing today. I want to thank everyone. Please join me in thanking Monica Duran for her leadership. It's difficult to tell those very personal stories and hardships, and it's incredibly important when we actually humanize and destigmatize these things that so many Coloradans go through. So thank you, Monica, for sharing your story and for advocating for this bill. I want to thank Porchlight for hosting this and for the work that you do in our community, as well as the Boulder, Adams County, and Denver County District Attorney's offices, Ceasefire, Moms Demand Action, and CICASA. You all are such rock stars. We've been able to do so much together this session. This is, I was elected in 2012, and I had the opportunity to vote for the original bill that passed in 2013. Unfortunately, it did not provide clear guidance on what happens when there's a domestic abuser who is going through the court process and actually bringing protections and clear guidance on how to relinquish a firearm. Since then, unfortunately, because this law was not actually, they didn't know how to go about actually going through with this, 117 people, men, women, and children have died who were in contact with law enforcement. The abuser had a gun. They should have relinquished their weapons, and unfortunately they did not. And so I'm so grateful that we are actually addressing the gaps that existed, that continue to exist in that bill. Proud to stand with you today, and thank you, Governor, for signing this law. All right, now with that. Representative Gray.
Thank you very much. I was a deputy district attorney when the 2013 law was passed and when we started to try to implement it. And it was a good step forward. It was already illegal for domestic abuse, folks that charged with domestic violence to possess firearms under the protection orders we already had. But there was no logistics whatsoever. The 2013 law tried to improve that and improved it somewhat. But when you're actually working in the system, you see the actual impact on people's lives, and we just didn't have the logistical steps it took to get the firearms out of situations where domestic violence was occurring. And that's the actual part that matters. Like, you can have all the laws you want to in the world. What you need is logistics. What you need is to actually get the firearms out of a situation where people are in danger. And that's why I was so proud to join this bill when Representative Duran asked me to, because I experienced it, because I had to look victims in the face and say, they would tell me, they're like, look, this isn't going to be enough. And I was like, yeah, I know, and I'm sorry. I wasn't a representative at the time. I was a deputy DA. I was like, yeah, no, that's right. It's not enough right now. But I'm very proud to be standing here to say I think we've got to the place where it is enough. And I'm not a deputy DA anymore, but the deputy DAs who are working in a couple of months are going to be able to say, yes, we do have tools. Like, we've got tools to make you feel safe. And I'm really proud of that. And I'm happy for, domestic violence is awful, and I've spoken to so many thousands of victims, but it's great to be able to give them good news. And today we have good news. There's lots of bad news involved in being a victim of domestic violence, but today we get to give some people some good news. So thank you to everybody who was a part of it today.
Join us or make it official. Official. It's the law of Colorado. Congratulations. And thank you to our